1811-4000। यही कंज्यूमर हेल्पलाइन।
Welcome back. You're watching Metro Nation. Now, there are close to 50,000 new houses coming up in the NCR each year. The areas growing fastest are Gurgaon and Ghaziabad.
And it's here that people invest life savings in many cases to build that dream home. But what happens when the dream turns into a nightmare?
Metro Nation's Varun Sinha finds out.
Not the kind of construction you would expect after paying 75 lakh for a house. This is what retired businessman Rajesh Malhotra found to his horror when he tried to move in to this 4-bedroom flat in SL Towers, Gurgaon. Malhotra says the builder had promised to take care of any construction defects after he paid the entire cost of the flat.
Before we took possession, we found a lot of defects. And we enumerated all of them, sent them in a letter, but without any effect. It's been terribly frustrating. I feel almost cheated. Can I go to the police and say, hey, these guys have not done what they ought to have done? Can I go to Huda?
Not just the peeling plaster or the cracked granite. Even the bedrooms cannot be used. Other residents of the complex say the builder had in the past responded to such complaints of poor construction, but not anymore.
They are really going into new projects, lots of projects. They are looking into the future of new business rather than, addressing the projects, the problems of the projects which have been already completed.
No one from the SL group was forthcoming to come and speak on the camera regarding the problems being faced by Mr. Malhotra. Property dealers have nothing to offer except advising the customers to be more careful about what they are investing in.
He should see that has that developer given any possession of the previous condominium and check up the quality construction over there.
Consumer right activists say there have been several instances where courts have awarded compensation for such deficiency in service.
The first thing which Mr. Malhotra should do, in my view, is send a notice in writing to the builder saying that this is the defect and the deficiency he has observed, and if he doesn't hear from them or they don't take action on such notice given by the consumer, then the only relief today is, number one, go to the consumer court and file a claim for compensation.
But till then, Rajesh Malhotra and the many other buyers like him will just have to put up with whatever big builders dish out in the name of quality construction. In New Delhi, Varun Sinha for NDTV.
Well, now we have two guests with us live in the Metro Nation studios. We have with us Prof.S.R.Khanna, who is the Managing Trustee of Consumer Voice. Welcome to the studio, sir. And we have Brigadier R.R. Singh, who is the Director General for National Real Estate Development Council. Now, we have been discussing this problem that real estate developers, they promise the sky and the moon to give you your dream home. But reality turns out to be different quite a few times. How is held accountable and how does one establish accountability?
See, once you have invested the money, then the accountability can be established only by a consumer court or a civil court.
That's a long drawn out process.
That's a long drawn process. Therefore, for a customer, it's very important that he thinks about investment before investing. He must know the developer with whom he is going to invest, and he can do it by the market survey, by the past performance of the developer who has done and delivered certain properties in the past. That is very important if he wants to be safe. He also, along with this, he also is supposed to know certain additional things, like the developer has got the land in his name. That is very important for the title, that the land title is clear. Second thing that he must know is that plans of the project which the developer is going to develop has been approved by the competent authority.
Right. Now, so obviously, sorry, go ahead.
Then that is second thing. So these things will save him from the legal angle that the product which is being developed is clear from all problems. That will establish one thing. But the quality aspect, which what he will deliver, that can be known only from his past performances.
So obviously, Brigadier Singh, the consumers need to know a lot. They need to do their homework, and that is obvious. But Professor Khanna, you are of course the spokesperson for Consumer Voice. Now, how would you be able to help a consumer really do his or her homework properly and really prepare?
You see, when your property, whether it's residential or it's non-residential, you have to steer yourself away from certain pitfalls. And Singh Sahib has correctly said, you must know the track record. Okay. But knowing the track record is very difficult. The builder doesn't give his track record out if he has something to hide. And surely your association will not give the wrong points of the builders who are your members, because they don't expect the associations to give negative information. So the result is it's very difficult, except for the very few well-known builders who have a very well-known public track record. You can't find out. Today there are thousands of real estate developers, small, medium and large. Everybody is swarming into this sector. There are no standards. You buy one thing, you get another. For example, you pay for 1,000 square feet and he will give you 600. Every builder is defining his own super area. What is super is defined by him. There is no standard that they are willing to follow. Then they will give you less space than you have bargained. And the only thing you have to do is to go to court. But everybody can't do that. Therefore, we need a system by which the essential features of a contract between a buyer and a seller have to be standardized, so that everybody says the same language. And here they used so many different types of tricks. You buy land, they'll take money for so much and they deliver you only so much. You want one location, they'll give you another. And there are buildings where a developer has sold the same piece of real estate to 20 different people just because he needs the money. And then they're all in a soup. How is the poor consumer going to find out? Of course, when you go for a housing loan, sometimes the banks are smart, because before they give the money, they do some checks, so that is one way. But apart from that, in my view, we need a code of practice for the real estate industry, which is not there, and it is for the Ministry of Works and Housing to create this code of practice. There is a code of practice for banking, there is a code of there for insurance, there should be a code of practice for real estate industry.
Now, Brigadier Singh, you are the Director General for National Real Estate Development Council. All the builders and property developers who are members of your council, do you have certain norms for them, like you were suggesting? Are there certain standards that one has to meet to be a part?
You see, no standard can be defined by a organization or a council. This standard is to be made by a developer himself.
No, not even for your organization?
No, we have standards. We have our basic policy, our basic aim and objective is the ethics in real estate business. So that is the principle on which you work. What we are advocating is that a real estate developer must be a graded developer. Like any other institution, like any other factory or any other manufacturing corporate, he must be a graded developer. That grading has to be done by the proper grading agency like ICRA, CRISIL, etc., etc. Second thing we are emphasizing upon is that every project must be graded project. Once a project is graded by a grading agency, the grading agency goes into the details of all those things which a customer has to go into the details. He sees that the land is clear from all encumbrances, the plans have been passed by the appropriate authority, the developer has the financial resources to develop that project, then thereafter the past delivery aspect, that is, he has been able to deliver the projects in time, and the quality wise he has done it a good work in the past. This all is looked into at the grading stage itself by the grading agency. This we are insisting. There is no government rules, regulations that this is a mandatory thing. As a result, everybody is not coming forward.
Right. Let me just interrupt you for a minute there, Brigadier Singh, because we have Jitendra from Jangpura who's just calling in, a Metro Nation viewer. And Jitendra, go ahead and ask your question now.
हाँ नमस्कार जी. हाँ लगभग पौने 2 साल पहले इंदिरापुरम के लिए पेपर में बहुत बड़े बड़े एड एजीएस बिल्डर्स ने दिए थे बुकिंग के लिए, लेकिन वो बुकिंग में उन्होंने अभी तक लॉन्च नहीं करा है प्रोजेक्ट अपना, तो उसके ऊपर में क्या करें हम?
These are basically the pre-launch projects he's talking about.
The pre-launch project should be avoided by a customer, because pre-launch is generally at a place or those places where the developer has either acquired the land or is acquiring the land, in the process of acquiring, and he has not got the plans etc. approved by the competent authority. So I will suggest that no customer should go in for a pre-launch project.
But Professor Khanna, could we just, before we wrap up the argument, get your reaction on the system of gradation that Brigadier Singh talked about?
You see, grading is good for a particular purpose. It's like 5-star hotel, 4-star hotel, 3-star hotel. The consumer knows what is the class of the company and what is the class of the project. To that extent it is good. What prevents a seller to misrepresent to customers on areas like super area, escalation charges? There are a number of ways in which, in spite of grading, the customer can be misled. Therefore, while we welcome a grading thing that can be authorized by government, but we also need a code of practice which will make it mandatory for such builders to declare information.
Right, Professor Khanna, we'll just go into a short break. Stay with us. We will discuss more about this after that short break.
Well, you're watching Let's Go Delhi. We still have with us in our studio Professor Sri-Ram-Khanna, Managing Trustee of Consumer Voice, and Brigadier R.R. Singh, the Director General of the National Real Estate Development Council. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's get back to our discussion now. And we were speaking a bit earlier about the possibility of having someone in between, really a regulator, to help consumers.
We are, in fact, truly speaking, the government is considering a bill where in that there is a legislation which is to be passed. In fact, this draft legislation is being proposed by the Ministry of Urban Development, and since Delhi is under the Ministry of Urban Development, it will be applicable for the Delhi state. Other states, every state has to have a regulator. One single regulator cannot work. Like telecom and all that, there is a simplified procedure that one regulator all over the country works. But in real estate, it's a state subject, and every state has to have.
We just have a call, Metro Nation viewer, who wants to ask you something. We have Dinesh from Gurgaon. Dinesh, go ahead with your question.
Hello, I am Dinesh Verma. I am plot. I booked in Amritsar, Ansal City, Amritsar. तो मुझे अलॉटमेंट हुए भी 1 साल हो गया, लेकिन अलॉटमेंट लेटर उन्होंने नहीं भेजा. मैं किस कंज्यूमर कोर्ट में उसके बारे में जा सकता हूँ?
So this is a reputed builder he's talking about. Yes. He still hasn't got his allotment letter.
He can definitely, what he's asking, can he go to the consumer court? Definitely he can go to the consumer court if he has not been delivered the product as per his promise.
No, but I would caution him not to do that. Because मुकदमेबाजी से पहले सुलह सफाई. He should go and meet the chief executive or the person in charge of this project, of that company, find out what are the reasons, find out how much more time it will take, decide whether he is willing to take that much time or not, because going to consumer court is very easy, but getting out is very difficult. In a city like Delhi, for example, consumer courts will take 3 to 5 years. Then there is the appeal, because when companies lose, their lawyers are, have a vested interest in appealing, and they will go all the way to the Supreme Court.
What I am saying is the consumer court is the final answer. If all these things fail, suppose he has not been delivered the plot in time, he must have made inquiries from the developer. There must be some problem in
what Professor Khanna is saying, that if he goes to the court, his money gets and his investment gets.
Let me tell you, there are builders who may be some of the members of your council who are very happy that consumers should go to court. Because once the matter goes to court, it is neither talked about and it is
and it drags on for a long time.
And it drags on for a long time. And they are well-equipped corporate lawyers who are willing to defend it. I would advise, find out 10 such other people of the same project and make life hell for the chief executive of that company. Outside his house, outside his office, write in the newspapers, write letters to the editor, go to the media, and also come to Mr. Singh's office. If he's your member, throw him out.
Yes.
Let Mr. Singh use his good offices to say how he can behave like this.
We have the provision to throw out a member in case we receive any complaint against a member of NAREDCO.
Well,
so that provision and procedure is already laid out, and there is no problem about it in implementing it.
So there are things that citizens can do outside the court. See, the court is the last resort. If you fail or you can't do anything, then you must also have people with you. If you want help, you can't do it yourself, go to a consumer association.
Yes, but as you mentioned, Professor Khanna, there is, we do also have another caller, Ramesh Goswami from Maya Enclave. That's right. Mr. Goswami, please ask your question of Professor Khanna and Brigadier Singh.
Okay, good evening, Brigadier Singh. I have a question to you. Your association has got a member called Jaipuria Greens in Indrapuram. Now, Indrapuram, this Jaipuria Greens, they are not following any rules and regulations, and they are not giving the flats to the owner, who has already paid the 80% of their payment, even to 90% of the payment. There are at least 100 to 150 people are suffering. What your council is going to do for that? Jaipuria Greens is in the Indrapuram.
Jaipuria Green is not the member of National Real Estate Development Council. That is the first point. The second thing is that even if he is not a member of the National Real Estate Development Council, if you have a problem, you can bring this to our notice. We'll do whatever best is possible and ensure that this person, we get in touch with him, try to find out what are his problems in delivering the product, and then probably we may advise him to do the needful.
You see, it is not possible for any association like that to arbitrate in individual disputes.
What if he doesn't meet your decisions?
He's not.
We don't have any legal authority to just penalize him. That is.
But as a via media, if good offices are used, it can be persuasion.
Yes.
Or if there are other people like you, collect them together. On their behalf, go and meet the people, find out what their problems are. If they have a difficulty, and sometimes the costs of the project are running over, they want escalation, they want more money. Negotiate, kuch leke, kuch deke, find a way out.
Right. We also
rushing to the court.
Yes.
I'm warning.
Should be the last resort. Okay. Now let's also go across to Jyoti, who is there with a question for both of you. Jyoti, go ahead. Jyoti, go ahead. Jyoti, if you can hear us, ask your question.
I think we've lost Jyoti.
Right.
Jyoti seems to
have lost Jyoti, but
हमारा भी इंदिरापुरम में सनराइज ग्रीन जयपुरिया में फ्लैट है और हमने पूरी पेमेंट कर दी है और उसके बावजूद उन्होंने जैसे पार्क फेसिंग के लिए उन्होंने पर स्क्वायर फीट का 125 रुपीज चार्ज किया और उसके आगे उन्होंने एक ऐसा आर्किटेक्चरल डिजाइन बनाया है आर्क, उसकी वजह से पार्क व्यू तो बिल्कुल है ही नहीं। और जब हम जाके प्रेसिडेंट और सब हायर अथॉरिटीज को भी मिले तो उन्होंने हमसे कहा कि हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं और उसके अलावा हमने पूरी पेमेंट कर दी और कुछ फैसिलिटीज दी नहीं है, कुछ नहीं। घर मतलब पूरा कैंपस बुरी हाल में है, तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं? मतलब हमने अपनी तरफ से पूरी कोशिश कर ली है, काफी 3-4 महीनों से हम परेशान हैं।
देखिए मेरा ये सुझाव है कि जो भी बिल्डिंग बनती है वो लोकल बॉडी के रूल्स के हिसाब से बनती है, उसका नक्शा पास हुआ होगा। राइट टू इन्फॉर्मेशन में आप लोकल अथॉरिटी के पास जाके जो इन्फॉर्मेशन है इस बिल्डिंग के बारे में, इसके कंप्लीशन प्लान्स के बारे में, इसके आर्किटेक्चरल प्लान्स के बारे में और जो इन्फॉर्मेशन म्युनिसिपल बॉडी के हाउसिंग बोर्ड के रिकॉर्ड में है वो सारा आप निकलवा सकते हैं आरटीआई में एप्लीकेशन डाल के। सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन लेने के बाद किसी वकील से सलाह कीजिए और वो आपको एडवाइस करे कि इस बिल्डर से क्या बात करनी है। और जितने और लोग हैं ऐसे अफेक्टेड उनको इकट्ठा करके, और मैं तो कहता हूं अगर ज्यादा लोग हैं 5 से तो आप फ्लैट बायर्स की एसोसिएशन बना दो।
Right. So the solution is everybody should have a lawyer.
देखिए there is not that. The solution is unity is strength. If there are 5 people affected, bring them together.
And the court should be a last option. Right. Well, thank you both of you for joining us in our discussion on the case of property dealers not giving the customers what they promised to.
Absolutely.
Well, now let's move on to more stories. Thank you both of you for coming to the studios. Well, now let's talk about the BRT. It was meant to be a solution to many of Delhi's traffic problems. A new matrix of 6 corridors spread across the city to be used only by buses that were bigger and better and would give commuters an option to driving to work.